Hello everyone, welcome to this live stream. And you've probably seen the title of this video and you're wondering what the hell is going on. But I decided to make a little detour from my usual videos with all the jazz guitar stuff and talk a little bit about a subject that I was exploring today actually. So the thing is, there's two reasons for me to make this video. The first reason is that I made a couple of videos in which I talk about that I think it's pretty useless to study modes for improvisation, right? And a lot of people got mad at me for making that video. I got a lot of negative comments. I got private messages. I even got a very angry email from a guitar teacher telling me that some of his students actually came to the lesson telling him that they saw my video and it kind of made sense to them. Right, so, and that wasn't absolutely not my intention to cause that. Right, I actually say in the video there's different roads to improvisation, and I'm willing to agree that learning modes is one of them. But the thing is that studying modes will actually not give you insight in harmony. It will only give you a set of notes that you can use at a certain location, but because you're not thinking functionally about how chords move, it's very difficult to actually sound musical. That's the first reason. The second reason is, and of course I'm going to demonstrate everything. The second reason is that because I'm making all these videos, I'm getting tons of recommendation from YouTube of other guitar teachers. And I got a video about the Phrygian mode. And thought, oh, that's interesting, let's watch it. And then I was watching it, and it's a great player, he plays great. But the backing track that he was using was actually not a track that you would normally think about if you play Phrygian. So I was like, oh, maybe that's a weird backing track that he was using. But then I checked out all the other backing tracks on YouTube which says Phrygian. And I could find no backing track that actually would be really a Phrygian backing track in the sense that only the Phrygian mode would work, or even that playing the Phrygian mode would be the most interesting. And that is because I think people that talk about Phrygian in the sense like you can use these 7 notes on these chords are kind of missing the point of how Phrygian is actually used throughout music history and also in improvisational styles like jazz, for example. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And I want to start by saying that all the opinions expressed in this video are purely my opinions. They might be very far from the truth. So, if you don't agree with me, that's fine. Please let me know. Maybe we can have a fruitful discussion about that. And then I might even address the complaints I get in this video in another video, in the next video. So I want to talk a little bit about the backing tracks I found, because what I did is I recreated those backing tracks so I can use them, because I can't use backing tracks by other people. And I basically found there's 2 kinds of backing tracks that people label as Phrygian backing tracks. The first is a static backing track where there's basically a G pedal, right, with some kind of Phrygian sounds, right? So what is Phrygian? If you want to express it in chords, it's basically when you play, we're in G, when you play F minor over the G chord. So you have a G chord, G bass, and you have an F minor chord on top of it, right? Another way to call that is a sus flat 9 chord. It's something that Django uses all the time, for example, or many jazz guitar players. It's when you have a G7, and you instead of playing G7, you play F minor. Right, that sound. So if you play an F minor chord with a G bass, so the most famous one is this. So I made a backing track that goes like that, right? The chords that you hear, let's listen to the backing track. I have to, of course, start the backing track. I just made that. I played it on my Gypsy Jazz guitar. I hope you can hear it. If there's something wrong with the sound, let me know. So what you hear is this. You hear this. All F minor. So it's just all inversions of F minor. Right, it's all inversions of F minor. It's just F minor triads, and this is F minor 6. F minor 6, 9. So if you then put a G in the bass, you could say, oh, that's a Phrygian, that's G Phrygian. So of course you could play a Phrygian scale on that, and that's the point of all these people teaching the Phrygian scale, so that they're gonna improvise. So it's basically the E flat major scale, right? If G Phrygian is basically the notes of the E flat major scale. So let me do that. I'm going to improvise a little bit only with these notes on this backing track. Right. Okay. Sounds good, right? That sounds fine. But here's the thing, right? This is a very limited way of thinking about this, because the chords that you are hearing are not suggesting a minor key. They are suggesting G7. That's what it is. It's a sound that you play on G7. G7 is a major chord, right? So by only playing the Phrygian, I'm missing a lot of information, because what I should actually be playing on this backing track is this. What is that? That's G altered. So I'm just playing G altered. And if I think about G altered, I can play F minor, I can play A flat minor. These sounds all work on this backing track. This backing track is just suggesting G7 without resolution to C minor. So let me play it again, and I'm gonna play G altered. Right? You could say, oh, it's A flat minor melodic, which is almost the same as a G Phrygian scale or E flat major. There's only one note difference, right? What's the difference? Is there a difference? Yes, there is no C in A flat minor melodic, but it doesn't matter, right? I'm not thinking about the scale. I'm just thinking about G altered. So let me play that. So now I'm playing a B and it sounds fine, right? Oh, altered, yes, altered. G7 altered basically means you have a G7 chord and you add a flat 9 and a flat 13, or it's an A flat and an E flat, which are two notes that are also in the G Phrygian scale. But this backing track is not Phrygian. You can play Phrygian, but this backing track is just G7 sounds for G7, in this case F minor. But by not playing a B, you're missing the function of these chords, right? This function is a dominant function. Now the funny thing is, in the lesson that I saw, the teacher actually says it would be a big mistake to not realize that Phrygian is a minor mode and you could be playing a B, and then the backing track plays and he plays this B, he plays like And then he, it sounds great. And he says, he says, you hear, it sounds awful, but it actually sounds great. And I can actually kind of see in the video that he also thinks, wow, sounds pretty good, because it does sound good, right? This B is completely natural to play on this backing track. Right, both the B and the B flat work. Why? Because it's G7 altered, so we can play a sharp 9. So that was the first backing track I found, claiming to be G Phrygian, but it isn't. It's just G7. Okay, now the other backing track, and of this backing track there's a bunch on YouTube, and let me find it. It sounds like this. I also recorded that. Listen. G minor, A flat. So, it's basically G minor, A flat, back to G minor, A flat, and now I play F minor. Well, that's just a chromatic thing, right? F minor, of course, is in the G Phrygian scale, but it's just... So, when I listen to this track, I completely don't hear any Phrygian information. Of course, these two chords are in the Phrygian scale. What I hear is a G minor tonality, a really G minor, even with an A, G minor 9, right? Like this, or 6. And then for the A flat, I hear A flat major 7 as a kind of tritone substitute for D7, sus, like this sound, with A flat and bass. So it's kind of a dominant. It's something I do often, right? There's D7 to G minor, and I'm playing A flat major 7, right? You hear this chord, and I'm playing to G minor. So if you play on this backing track, you can of course play G Phrygian, the whole thing, although I think it sounds not particularly nice on the G minor chord. Let me do that first, and then let me play it the way I would play that progression. So this is Phrygian. You see, on the G minor chord, I'm missing information by playing Phrygian on that scale, on that chord. It just sounds like I'm still on the previous chord, and I'm waiting for the chord to change. Now, if I would actually play G minor, and there's more tricks, I will get into that. If I actually play G minor and A flat major 7, it sounds much better. That's the first option. G minor, A flat major 7. Let's try that. Play a simple solo so you can really hear it. G minor. That's much more interesting, right? And now I'm playing even G minor 6. So another option is to play G minor and then play A flat major 7, and then the last part of the A flat major 7 just play D7 altered into G minor. Makes it even stronger. Let's try that. So G minor to A flat major 7, and then I'm gonna play D7 right over that A flat major 7 chord, because I'm thinking of it actually as D sus altered. That's cool, right? Now, what I can also do is on the G minor still play, because in gypsy jazz there's this thing, but also in jazz, when it's a minor chord, when we're in the minor key, on the 1 you also play the 5 altered chord. So when it's G minor, I can play G minor stuff, but I can also play my D7 altered stuff. That's a really cool sound on G minor. So now I'm gonna play on the G minor chord, I'm gonna play G minor and D7 altered. And on the A flat major 7, I'm also gonna play A flat major 7 and I'm gonna play A flat major 7 and also D7 altered. So now I can actually continue that D7 altered sound that I played on the A flat major 7 on the G minor. That is a very cool sound. So the big difference between thinking Phrygian or thinking what I'm doing now is now I'm thinking functions, right? I'm thinking 1, 5, and then I realize, of course, because I know what the backing track is doing, that on the 5 chord I maybe have to start with A flat major 7 or A flat, because that's what's on the backing track. But then the 5 chord and the 1, they're kind of interchangeable, so I can keep playing the 5 and the 1. Now I get lots of interesting sounds. At one board I was even playing this. So this A7, I was playing A7 on the A flat major 7, D7, and you know why you accept it? Because it all resolves into each other. So the A7 resolves into the D7, that resolves into the G minor. Let me do that again. So I'm gonna play some G minor stuff, and then when the A flat hits, I'm gonna play A flat major 7, and then right before I go back to G minor, I play, I'll do it here. So A7, D7, resolve. Yeah, that's basically what I think about Phrygian. It doesn't really exist in the sense that it is not a mode that's, I think, ever used as is, right? If you really want to write something Phrygian, then you basically have to compose something and then only stay within those notes. But in general improvisation, I've never encountered a song that's really Phrygian, right? So the first example with the static chord, that's just G7. And this example is just G minor D7. That's basically what it is. And if you know a backing track on YouTube that is really Phrygian, that really requires you to only play Phrygian, please let me know, because I have listened maybe to 10, 15, they were all like this, right? Not a single one was really requiring me to play Phrygian to make it sound good. Actually, it sounded more boring if I would do that. And that's really a little bit my point with modes. This goes for every mode, right? There's no backing track that you can think of that is really requires you to only play that mode and then sound interesting. For instance, let's talk a little bit about Dorian. I don't have a Dorian backtrack, but this is the same principle. Let's say you have a song like So What, right? It's only D minor. 1, 2. And then it goes to E flat minor. Right, so of course you can play your Dorian scale on that thing. You could play your... Of course you could do that. But if you really want to sound interesting, what you're better off doing, or that's one of the options, but what you could also do is just play D minor A7 stuff. You get much more interesting sounds. Or you play G7, a G7 bebop scale maybe. Right? Or you play E7 to A7. All right, or bluesy stuff. So, and I don't think it's possible to find a backing track that it would be better to play that one mode, than to play functional harmony. Because when you play functional harmony, there's much more colors for you to explore. So let's say you're a modal player and you want to get into this functional stuff. How do you do that? You do that by learning to play lines that fit certain chords, right? So when you have to play on So What, which is D minor, you have to practice lines that work on D minor, lines that work on A7 altered, lines that work on D diminished, because those are all sounds that resolve to D minor, right? Lines that work on G7, because G7 is the same as D minor, G7 bebop, for example. Lines that work on E flat 7, because also resolves to D minor. Lines that work on G minor 6, because that also resolves to D minor, right? So all the sounds that resolve to D minor, you need some lines. And I have many videos with those lines, so that's one option. But only using the mode will also make you sound correct, but might be pretty limiting. That's the reason why I'm saying, forget about modes, start practicing lines, or think about functional harmony. And that's basically it. So I see there's a bunch of comments and questions. Maybe there's something I should answer. So Jacob Werner says, so is Phrygian most commonly used over sus chords, not minor? I know Phrygian works over dominant chords, Phrygian dominant, but the Phrygian dominant scale is something else, right? That's not the Phrygian scale. If I have G7 and I want to play Phrygian dominant, that's actually C minor harmonic, right? But I was playing that on the G7 because I'm thinking G7 altered, so then I'm gonna play the Phrygian dominant scale. But I could also just play the G Phrygian scale, but then I'm missing that B, the B that makes it a very interesting sound. So let me see the rest of the question. Is it more common to play? No, you can. So the thing is, you don't have to exactly play the same sound as the comping, right? So let's say the piano player is just playing G7. You could be playing your Phrygian dominant scale. The thing is, if you both are playing G7 and think about that function, so what is the function of G7? It's to resolve to C minor, right? So even if it doesn't resolve, even if it's static like the first, I'm still thinking about resolving to C minor, even though I'm not doing it. I'm just staying on that sound. And a piano player or a guitar player that's comping you should also be thinking about that. Like, what kind of sounds can I play on G7 that would resolve to C minor? And then he's gonna play Phrygian sounds, he's gonna play altered sounds, he's gonna play tritone sounds. And they don't have to be in sync what you do, as long as you both have that function in your ears. What the audience will hear is that you're playing very strong lines or chords that resolve to another chord, which is not coming. It is static, of course, but we pretend that it is coming. So that my point is that there's no point in playing Phrygian over minor chords. There's much nicer sounds from minor chords, right? Just play minor stuff and its corresponding dominant, right? So instead of G minor and playing G minor Phrygian, just play G minor and D7 Phrygian, or D7 altered, or C minor. Okay. So Phrygian is more interesting when used functionality in tune than Phrygian being the basis of the tune itself. Yes, but I don't think it really exists, a Phrygian basis for a tune. Unless you write something very specific for a film score where you only use the Phrygian notes. But now we're not talking about improvisation, and we're also not talking about functional harmony anymore, right? So, but even on a tune like that, I need to hear that tune, how that would sound, right? I need to hear, because I have no idea what a Phrygian progression would be. If you want to express the Phrygian sound, you need to have the pedal in the bass. Oh, Jacob, thank you for your super chat. Thank you so much. If you want to express a Phrygian sound, you need to have that pedal in the bass of the key, right? So G Phrygian. You need to have the G in the bass constantly, because as soon as you start moving the chord, the Phrygian sound is kind of gone. Now it's just another chord. So very difficult for me to envision what a Phrygian composition would be. I'm not sure. I don't think it really exists in the sense that people are talking about it. I think what people are talking about is just functional music that would be better served by not playing Phrygian only. I thought Karen was a Phrygian mode song if one would want to. Yes, well, if you would want to, right? So it's C7. So if we're in F minor, right? So you can play this chord, right? This is the typical Phrygian chord. But again, it's C7, right? So what can I do on C7? I can play Phrygian, I can play altered, I can play the Phrygian dominant scale, I can play an octatonic thing. I can play F minor 6. B flat minor 6. So I can play C sharp minor 6. I can play just C7 stuff non-altered. But that's a good example of this dominant chord, which is a very long dominant chord, that does resolve to F minor. So that's my point exactly, right? We're not going to play Phrygian, we're going to play sounds that resolve to the next chord on that C7, which is F minor. One of those sounds could be Phrygian, but I don't think it's actually the nicest sound to play over that chord. There's much more interesting sounds to play, like F sharp 7, like play it. But now resolving to F minor. So yeah, that's basically what I would want to say about Phrygian. By the way, guys, please subscribe and like the video. I just heard that if you like a live stream, YouTube will do more for the stream and push it out to more people. And also the super chats, Jacob, thank you so much. I also heard that by giving super chats during a live stream, YouTube will actually also push the video out more, because they're getting a portion of that donation, which is fine by me, because if YouTube will help me push out the stream to more people, that's great. So that really helps, Jacob. Thank you so much. Okay, well, I think those were the questions. I hope I convinced you about Phrygian not being a minor mode. Of course, Phrygian is a minor mode, but it is not used on minor chords. You can use it on the minor chord. I don't think it's the best choice. It dilutes what I call it. It dilutes the function of that minor chord, which is usually one chord, right? So then, why are we not playing a one kind of sound? Why are we playing something that makes it sound like we're on a previous chord or on a chord that is about to come? Do a chorus of Cherokee. I want to, but I don't have a backing track for Cherokee. So, but I will do Cherokee as one of the songs in my series about jazz standards. The thing is, I cannot use backing tracks for other people, because then this video will get demonetized and flagged. So I can't do that. But on mid 5, that's a good song. If you want to hear me play a chorus of Cherokee, you should check out my video called Caged versus 3-note per string system versus Van Hamer system, and I start with a chorus of Cherokee. Okay, guys, I will be back, and gals, sorry, I will be back very soon with the continuation of my series about chord solos, where I will teach you some really cool chord formulas. Check out the previous episodes. And if you have any questions about this or think I'm wrong about this, please let me know, and I will address it in another video. Have a good day, everyone. Bye.